Tonight in Miami, Florida at the Kaseya Center, the home of the Miami Heat, Jake Paul, the problem child, is back to take on Olympic gold medalist and former heavyweight champion of the world, Anthony Joshua, in an 8-round heavyweight bout. And this is just something that I didn't think was possible when Jake Paul's career started, because he has only been boxing at this point. It's been over 5 years, just a little bit under 6 years actually, and his first fight actually took place in Miami against Anderson Gibb back in January of 2020, and now he has Anthony Joshua in front of him. And although he did beat Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. back in June, which was one of his best opponents at the time, Anthony Joshua is a whole different level. Anthony Joshua is 28-4 in his career, and although he has the 4 losses, he has 25 knockouts, and he has beat some of the best boxers of this generation, is one of the best heavyweights in the last decade. And although he's coming off of a 5th-round knockout loss to Daniel Dubois back in September of 2024, Joshua is still dangerous. He is still a very capable boxer and still one of the best heavyweights in the world, regardless of his last performance. And before he lost to Dubois, he won 4 straight fights in impressive fashion, with his last victory coming against Francis Ngannou, former UFC champion, back in March of 2024. That was his last win. He won that one by a 2nd-round knockout, which was his first knockout in the first 2 rounds in the nearly the last decade. So Joshua is looking to prove that he still is one of the best heavyweights, and Jake Paul is looking to prove everyone wrong, is looking to prove himself right, in that he is a future title challenger, as he wants to continue to climb that mountain. And it really is just a tough task. He weighed in at a little over 216 pounds. Joshua weighed in over 243 pounds, so a big weight difference. Joshua's 5 inches taller, 6-inch reach advantage, as he's 6 foot 6 inches tall. Jake's is 6'1". So a big difference, not only in skill and experience in the sport, but also physical wise, size and reach. That all favors Joshua. But I think Jake Paul, I think he's being counted out too much actually in this one. Everyone just thinks has come to the conclusion that Joshua is automatically just going to knock Jake Paul out in the first minute, in the first round or two, and it's going to be over very quickly. And I just don't see that. I think Jake Paul has a fighting chance in this. I think he is better than people give him credit for. And Jake Paul, by just even signing his name on this fight and by stepping into the ring with Joshua, his credibility goes up a ton, because all of the doubters were the same people saying that Jake Paul would never beat Tyrone Woodley, would never beat Anderson Silva, would never beat any of these former elite combat sports athletes that he has overcame in the past. I just think Jake Paul, and you've seen it all week long, I think he has improved a ton. His skills have continued to get better, because he still is only 28 years old. He still is under 6 years into the sport. And the odds in this one on DraftKings Sportsbook, I see Joshua as a minus 1,200 favorite. Jake Paul's plus 700, and Joshua is minus 380 to win by knockout. But to me, the best bet in this one is to take the over 2.5 rounds, which is minus 145. That is because, like I mentioned previously, Joshua has only one knockout in the first 2 rounds since 2016. Jake Paul hasn't picked up a knockout in quite some time in the first few rounds since March of 2024. So I just see this one playing out as both guys will enter the fight. I think Jake could be aggressive early, but I think Joshua will let the fight come to him. And I think they'll feel each other out for the first few rounds. And I do think we could see a finish later in the fight, but in the first 2 rounds is too soon for me, especially because Joshua people are forgetting that Joshua also hasn't been the most aggressive fighter in the first few rounds in a ton of these fights. Yes, he was against Francis Ngannou, but before that, we didn't see an aggressive version of Joshua when the fight begins. So, and the other thing is that Joshua is a guy that is coming off a long layoff. He hasn't fought in over a year, 15 months to be exact, since September of 2024. So I think when you put all those factors into and you kind of think about it all, that's why I take the over in this fight. But also, and that's why I give Jake Paul a fighting chance. Do I think he's gonna beat Anthony Joshua? No. I'm not going to give my final prediction as that. I think Anthony Joshua will win this fight because of his boxing experience, because of his size, but because of his reach advantage. But I do think Jake Paul, with his quickness, with his good cardio, I think he could have a really good chance in this one. It is an 8-round fight, and Jake Paul has always proved people wrong. And if he, regardless of Joshua coming off a knockout, there still will be doubters even if he beat Joshua, but if he could beat Joshua, it would just be unbelievable. He would be in line for a title shot for sure. And if Joshua could win, he will continue to work his way up the heavyweight division as he's done many times in the past. Also on this card, you have former UFC champions Anderson Silva and Tyron Woodley facing off. I favor Tyron Woodley in this one, even though he's taking it on a little bit of short notice, just because he has lost a lot of fights in a row. He's lost 2 boxing fights, and he is 7 years younger than Silva, so I favor him in that one. A lot of intriguing women's title fights. Alicia Baumgardner taking on Layla Buendon in this one. Baumgardner is just unbelievable, 16-1. I think she's going to pick up a win in impressive fashion. Overall, I can't wait for this one. Jake Paul, Anthony Joshua, taking place on Netflix December 19th in Miami, Florida. As long as it lasts, it should be an exciting showdown. Thanks everybody for tuning in. I'm Ryan Wohl. Please hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.